All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. This is Catherine Flores, and I'm going to be hostessing, whichever I'm going to be doing this afternoon. Our speaker today is Don Walter, and he's going to be talking us through transportation and parking. If you have any questions, just a couple of housekeeping tips first. If you have any questions, comments, please type them into the Zoom chat. If you're watching on YouTube Live and you have questions, please go to the, you can type them into the chat there, but if you're watching a recorded version after the fact, you can please go to the auxillary.uga.edu website and then click on the auxiliary connections and then the leave feedback and questions link. That will take you to a questionnaire where you can put your comments in. They will be, they can be anonymous. They can, you can identify yourself either way. And we welcome any feedback, even if you don't have a question, but you just want to tell us something that we could do better or something that we did well and we should keep doing. So we welcome all that feedback. So if, as you have questions come in, I'll either jump in with Don as he has a break, or we may save them towards the end. Just depends on the flow and how the questions come in. So in the meantime, take it away, Don.
Thanks, Catherine. I hope everybody's doing well. How's the shine on my head? It's not too bad today, I hope. Tried not to shine any lights on it. I'm privileged to lead a fantastic group of women and men at Transportation and Parking Services. I think they're the best in the world at what they do. I would not trade my team for any other team that I know that is out there. They're just tremendous. So I'm going to tell their story today with a lot of pictures and a few words. And I know you have an opportunity for questions. And as an incentive, if anybody asked a very insightful or thoughtful question, I have a tremendous prize for you. Here it is here. And if nobody has any good questions, I will just have to give it to my favorite employee, who right now is Jason Brown. So please ask some good questions. I'm going to try to share this screen now. All right, Greg, I see you on the screen. Can you see my PowerPoint? Give me a thumbs up. No. Can anybody see my screen? You can. Okay, great. So at Transportation and Parking Services, we are all about students. If everything that we do should be to support students. If we're doing something that doesn't support students, we shouldn't be doing it. I love this picture because I get a feeling that I helped with students, I helped them graduate, reach their goals in life in some very little way. And I'm sure everybody in Transportation and Parking Services and also Auxillary does also. Anybody know who this is? It's Todd Bervin, driving a tram at Disneyland, 1964. Our associate director, he just does an unbelievable job. Makes my life so much easier. We're organized into 5 sections, and I'll talk about all of them. But first, some fun facts. Robert mentioned yesterday that we are a large organization. We have the second most ridership of any university in the country. Only Texas A&M has more, but they have a hell of a lot more students too. we currently have 60 diesel buses and 20 electric buses, but we're going to need to get rid of some of the diesel buses because they're just getting old, and I'll talk about that a little later. And as Robert mentioned yesterday, we're the second largest transit organization in Georgia. We're second only to MARTA, but we're much bigger than every other organization. For instance, we're about 5 times bigger than Athens Transit. And everybody's always surprised that we have so many student drivers, and it is really surprising and really remarkable because when you think about it, we're taking a young man or woman who only really has a couple of years of driving experience, and in a couple months we make them into first class bus operators, and they're responsible for not only a multi-ton machine worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they're responsible for up to 80 souls on board at a given time. They're just incredible. And I've had professors tell me that they know when they have a student bus operator in their class because they're just so much mature than all the other students. Maintenance department is ably led by Mike Cosby. Fun fact about Mike, he and his wife always dress alike. It's actually really, really cute. Our maintenance section is absolutely a shining star at the university. And I'm just going to give you 3 quick facts. The APTAs, the American Public Transportation Association, they have a national standard that a public transit bus should only last 12 years. Anybody guess how long ours last? Because our maintenance department is so fantastic, a third of our fleet is currently over 12 years old. And we actually have buses that are 20 years old. This is how good a job they do. According to the Federal Transit Administration, we're supposed to have 20% of our buses are spares to give maintenance assets to work on while the fleet is in operation. For years, we've been operating with 0 spares. Mike has organized his folks to work at night and when the buses are available. And so when you're sleeping in your comfy bed at night, just know that a tremendous maintenance staff is there working on the buses for you. And the FTA also requires phases to be done on time, 80%. And phases are like oil changes and those type of things. And Robert and Jenny and I went to GDOT a couple months ago to talk about our federal grant. And very proud moment for me. They said, you're required to do your phases at 80% on time. And I said, well, if I have to, if you really want me to reduce our on time by 20%, I'll be happy to do that. And they were pretty amazed. One of our maintenance supervisors, Ty Oglesby, this is one of my favorite pictures because I think Ty is actually lecturing us. You can see his finger wagging. This bus has really made him mad somehow. I think it's probably because it made him so dirty. And this is Jason Robinson. He's actually at the Proterra factory where they build our electric buses, and they're only 90 miles away in Greenville, South Carolina. And our mechanics actually have learned the electric bus from the inside out. And this is a pretty interesting story. This is the top of the electric bus, and you can see there's a lot of complicated equipment on there. And one of our mechanics, our supervisors, was up there, Nick Little, and he said, "What happens when a tree limb hits all this equipment up there?" And they said, "Well, that would destroy the bus. The battery will overheat." And Nick said, "Well, what are you going to do about it? And they said, well, you mean that branches actually do hit the bus? And he's like, yeah, it happens all the time. And Proterra, the bus manufacturer, reached out to their other customers and they said, oh yeah, that's a very common occurrence in the transit industry. So Proterra, because of our maintenance supervisor, they went back and they redesigned the entire bus. Before we go into operations, Mike Cosby, are you on today? Can you chime in? Do you want to? Mike's probably napping or planning out his next.
Yeah, he's muted.
He's muted. Okay. He's planning it. He and his wife Tanya are planning out their next outfit match. Is what they're doing. Jeff Arthur ably leads our operations department. As everybody knows, we do regular routes almost 24/7. But we also do a heck of a lot of charters, from football games to driving departments to the airport. We do about 13,000 hours of charter work a year, which is really the equivalent of about 6 drivers who would only do charters every single day. We do paratransit. We move disabled people around campus. Katrina LaSalle does an unbelievable job with that. We've had, in 2 years, we've had 2 complaints, and they really weren't complaints. And we feel really good about this service because there's a lot of people who are permanently disabled and they really need us. And then a lot of people don't know that we do a library service. We move books around between libraries in the university system of Georgia. And this is the lifeblood of our organization, our bus driver. This is Terry Taylor. He's been driving for 30 years, more than 30 years. Our drivers are just amazing. We get compliment after compliment of how well our drivers do, how they engage with their students. We've had students bring their parents out to the bus stop and say, let me show you, let me introduce you to the driver that meant so much to me. We have students who will skip 2 or 3 buses when they come by because they know the bus number of their favorite bus operator. And this is Nacha. She's a little shy. I'm surprised that she even posed for this picture. Our supervisors also do a great job. It's harder than you might think, but they always find a way to get it done. This is David Tollett, who leads training. Background to this picture, 15 seconds before this was taken, he was standing on a bridge with his wife, and he told his wife he disagreed with something. So that's how this picture resulted. I mentioned before, we take raw drivers, student drivers. We spend $6,000 on them, and we turn them into fantastic drivers. We also do a lot of continuous training. Even somebody like Terry Taylor, who's got 30 years of driving, can still learn, because when you stop learning, you stop living. And so we are always trying to make no matter how much experience they have, they can still get a little bit better. And a lot of people don't know that we do drug and alcohol testing on students too. And just think, I think that's another screening tool of why we get so many great students, is because it screens a lot of people out. And there's a lot of regulatory compliance that needs to be done, and David and his team do it pretty well. And here's 2 of our training supervisors, Kathy Smith, and this is Jason Brown, who is my favorite employee. You can just see the awe and enthusiasm in his face, why I love him so much. And one of our student drivers, they're just so young. Let's switch over to parking. This is a pretty old picture, but it's one that I had. Everybody always wants to know, how many parking spaces do you have? And that's a kind of a hard question to answer. There's actually 24,000 spaces on campus. We manage 22,000. Of those 22,000, there's about 19,000 that we can sell permits for because we have visitor spaces, disability spaces, patient spaces, that type of thing. And of those 19,000, because everybody's not here all the time, we can sell about 21,000 permits. We manage 11 parking decks, which is a heck of a lot. Parking decks take a lot of care and feeding, from lighting, replacing the light bulbs, to repairing cracks. We average about $500,000 a year to maintain our parking decks. We do it so well. We used to get an award from the International Concrete Institute for maintaining the deck so well. We didn't even apply for it. They would just send it to us every year. And then they said, well, we can't give it to you every year, so we're going to stop giving it to you again. We write 30,000 citations a year. I would prefer that we didn't write any citations, but it's necessary to keep good in order and to guarantee a parking spot for permit holders. We used to, before we had the license plate recognition system, keep track of every complaint that we got in. And can anybody guess what our number one complaint is? 5 times more than any other complaint. It was violators in my lot. A lot of jealous parkers out there. People used to sit in their office and look out into the parking lots with binoculars to see who had a permit and who didn't. They'd wait in the parking lot, and they just couldn't help themselves to report people who did not have a permit. We support about 500 special events a year. This is a lot more difficult than you may think it is because every department on campus thinks they own parking. And sometimes we'll have multiple events at the same time, and sometimes we don't even know the events are happening. They just assume there'll be parking. But our folks always seem to find a way to make it happen. Our deck supervisors are amazing. Every single one of them was here when I got here. They've got a ton of experience. Neil Evans and Amp Brown, I think, have about 35 years apiece in parking services. All of our supervisors, you ask them to do something, there's never a complaint. It gets done. You never have to follow up because it's going to get done 100% of the time. And we've won a whole host of awards. Here's one of our student workers. Looks like a football game. More of our great employees. Just a picture that shows you that everybody doesn't park properly all the time. Decks and compliance, ably led by Tyson Edfor. I've noticed that all of his pictures, he always has this commanding pose, hands on hip, looking skyward, every single picture that he's got. Here's some folks winning awards. Our people, we tell them that they are the first and last impression of the university, and they really are. We just get compliment after compliment. Have a great reputation. I was at a special event a while ago. It was actually a Board of Regents meeting, and I was stopped by one of the attendees, and he was actually the president of Georgia Tech. And he said, how is it that your people are, to a person, are just amazing? And I said, well, you know, we train them pretty well, but we hire people who are genuinely nice, and it's hard to train people to be nice. So we hire nice people, and we train them the best that we can. This is just an example. I really like this picture of how we improve the lighting in all of our decks. The left side of the screen is the old lighting, and the right side of the screen is the new lighting. And our belief is that a well-lit deck is a safe deck, and we've done this in all 11 decks that we have. I really like this picture. One of our supervisors, Linda Pack, I'm not sure what's going on here. I think she had a broken antenna and then she fixed it, and that's what made her so happy. I'm not sure. And we've just reorganized a little bit, and with the one-stop shop moving over, now Blaine Van Note has analysis and special events. And I found it very humorous that he would pose as a strongman because we have a contest in transportation and parking. There's a bollard at the Tate deck that weighs about 150 pounds. And only 2 people have ever been able to lift the bollard out of the ground, myself and Mike Cosby. Blaine has tried numerous times. Todd has tried. They say that they can do it, but it's not witnessed. They can't. And Katie Scoggins and Whitney Tillman, a couple of our folks in the special events arena. Special events like football games, just think of 93,000 people there, plus the other 20,000. We parked every single one of them, and we moved a whole heck of a lot of them on buses. Randolph mentioned this yesterday, Operation Safe Drive. We're proud of that because we see a lot of vehicles that really need help. 5 pounds of pressure in the tires, no oil, no radiator fluid, that kind of things. We know that we're helping keep students safer. And just keep moving on. Just give you an idea of some things that we've done recently. We now have 20 electric buses in the fleet. I don't know if you can see it over here, but the guy in the trench coat is actually Dean Leo, the Dean of Engineering. We have a great partnership with them. And we've completed $1 million charging infrastructure. We can currently support about 48 electric buses, and we've built it so we can expand it even further. And we have a grant through the federal government for 13 more electric buses. And we've expanded our license plate recognition program where the license plate is now the permit, and our enforcement monitor can go through the parking lot, and through technology can pick up every single license plate that's in that lot or deck. So we don't need any permits anymore. It's much more effective. And just to show you how far advanced we are than a lot of folks, I went to a parking conference a few months ago, and there was the transportation and parking director from Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia, was giving a talk on how to implement LPR on your campus. And he was talking about all kinds of problems that he was having. And afterwards, I went up to him and I kind of gave him some pointers on how he could fix some of his issues. And he said, wow, that's amazing. He said, how do you know all that? And I said, well, because we've been using it for 5 years. And Todd Bervin's done an amazing job putting in, leading the charge to put in space counters and pay on foot and pay by phone. Something that the students just absolutely love. They just rave about it. And we're going to put in some more. And I think we have the best safety system in the country. Everybody I talk to is absolutely in awe of what we do. Just to give you an example that most people don't know about, we have either 10 or 12 cameras on every bus. We have a great GPS system on the buses, and we require our drivers, every time they see any kind of traffic incident, whether it's a vehicle doing something squirrely, or somebody walking out in the crosswalk, or jaywalking, they press a marker button on the camera, and then we get over 1,000 marker presses a month, and we have student analysts that collate a lot of this data and put it together, like where the most dangerous crosswalks are, what time, and we give that to the police department every month. And Chief Silk just loves it, and that way he can concentrate his force at the place and time where they're having the most problems. So we've really become the eyes and ears of the police force. We just put up 21 new bus shelters, and we're building a deck that's going to be under the STEM building. And we built a large park and ride out on College Station. It's been a complete success. People are just dying to get in there. We have a new bike share system by Gotcha Bike. I've ridden the bike myself. It's an electric assisted bike. You really don't even have to pedal at all. It's actually really a lot of fun. You should try it. And we've teamed with students. We're currently engaged with 4 teams at the School of Engineering, and they are doing just amazing things using our buses and our facilities and our data as field assets. And we're adopting to work at home. Our folks really have done well with this. We have a lot of technical training that they can do at home, and we know they're doing it because we can look in and see the certificates that they're earning and the times they've logged in and so forth. So they're doing a great job. Here's some of our new buses and some of our chargers. And here's one of the engineering teams taking a look at the bus. Here's a visit to the factory at Proterra. You can see a big guy in gray over here on the left, Todd. You can tell he's telling a joke because nobody's laughing. I know we're in a tough time out there. It's one of the toughest times I've ever faced in my life, and I've been through some tough times. Hang in there because we're all in this together alone. And remember, things can be worse. And I got this picture, but then I looked down there at Tyson, and I'm not sure that person is not Tyson, so I'm not sure. If you look down at the bottom of that picture there, there's a little kid there. I always feel sorry for that little kid. It's just not right. And again, we have just an amazing team. I'm proud of every single one of them. Wouldn't trade them for anybody. They do a great job. So that's my presentation. I'll be happy to take any questions.
All right. Is there a link to the eBus specifications? We have one viewer that's particularly interested in the battery pack specs and what kind of battery temperature control systems are used.
I guess we have the specs, of course, and we'll be happy to share them, anybody who wants them. But you can probably just go to the Proterra website and look at the specs there. We have a very powerful bus. We have 4 very large batteries. They weigh a couple thousand pounds apiece. They're at the bottom of the bus for stability. But you can probably go to Proterra to look at the battery specs, bus specs, or we can give them to you if you want them.
Are there any updates as far as route times and new bus stops or anything like that on the horizon?
We actually review this every single year about this time. We have very successfully the last 3 years optimized the routes with the help of student government, and our ridership has actually gone up 200,000 passengers a year for each of the last 2 years, while our route miles have gone down, our costs have gone down. So we are becoming more efficient. So if anybody's interested in being part of that team, we'd be happy to have you with us.
Tyson says that one picture you showed, that was his estranged cousin.
Estranged cousin?
Estranged cousin. What's the longest distance an electric vehicle has driven on a single charge?
It's actually a Proterra bus, and it's gone 1,132.2 miles on a single charge.
Wow.
Any other easy questions?
And that's what we've got right now. Any other questions? Keep them coming in. Let's see. Are there any information or updates on an automated car wash that state vans can utilize?
We keep working on that. It's not as easy as you would think, because it has to fit all sizes of vehicles. It has to be a brushless, touchless car wash. We have funding for it. We hope to have something maybe this year, but it's more difficult for us to find exactly what we want.
Okay. How many individual batteries make up the 4 battery packs?
Each battery has 6,231 individual batteries in it. They're about the size of a AA battery. We've actually gone out. Todd and I went out to the factory in Burlingame, California, and watched how they make these batteries, and it's pretty amazing. It's not just like a giant battery. It's full of all these very small batteries that can be replaced, and each one of them is networked in where you can see each component that's bad. You don't have to replace the whole 2,000-pound battery.
What's the cost of a charge?
The cost of a charge?
Mm-hmm. Like what?
We could give a whole lesson just on electric buses because they're so amazing. But we have a diesel bus costs about $100 a day to run, and an electric bus, because we have such an amazing rate from Georgia Power right now. Each bus takes about 300 kilowatts of power a day, and Georgia Power is charging us, because we can charge at night, 1.5 cents a kilowatt. So 300 times 1.5 cents is $4.50 to run a bus for 13 hours a day. We've expanded. We're actually on phase 4 now of the park and ride out on College Station. We didn't do all this by accident. We brought in a traffic engineering team, and it was amazing that they found out that 38% of the campus access this campus on College Station Road. So we knew that would be a great location. Possibly up some more on College Station Road. South Millage has a lot of area out there. We would love to put some more parking rides in. Of course, we're going to have to get some funding now too.
Tyson wanted to throw a shout out to all of the transportation parking employees that supported housing move out process and the drivers and maintenance continuing daily service. Question has come out that you were talking about the current routes, but the transit website and Facebook page has no bus service starting April 6th. You want to elaborate on that?
That's correct. Our ridership has dwindled to 10 or 12 riders. We're just not performing the valuable service anymore. So it just makes sense to shut it down and limit exposure to people and also our staff the best that we can.
Okay, let's see. Getting a couple. Let me get back to, because I saw it just a second ago. I'm having to scroll back, sorry. How do you respond when people ask for a sliding scale parking rate for employees?
You know, that's a good question. Some other schools have done that unsuccessfully. You know, we always think that it's you're paying for the space. You can, if you want to, you can pay up close in the center of campus at $40 a month, or you can pay remotely at $10 a month. So it's just like everything else, you know, there's a cost, and people can choose, you know, where they want to spend their money.
As a wrap up, can you just tell us a little bit more about your background?
My background?
Yeah. Not what's in your background, but what has made Don Don.
Oh, okay. You know, I'm really pretty boring. I got out of college. I graduated pretty early. I went to officer candidate school when I was 19 years old in Quantico, Virginia, and 1979. Had a lot of Vietnam vets at the time that taught me a lot, and spent 25 years in the Marine Corps, and tried to credentialize myself and qualify myself. And Marine Corps sent me to get 2 master's degrees, which was fantastic. And I always thought I would work for a large corporation and make a lot of money, and I did. I worked for Computer Sciences Corporation for 2 years, and I hated it. I couldn't stand the profit motive. I realized I really just like to serve people. And when I came to the university, I needed a break. And I said, how hard can parking be? All you do is write some citations and sell some permits. And I was wrong. I enjoyed it. The parking and transportation industry is a fantastic industry. The people in it are great. And I've really just enjoyed working at the university. There's not much pressure. There's a lot of collaboration, a lot of camaraderie that I was used to when I was in the Marine Corps. So that's kind of my background.
Excellent, thank you. We did have one question that I did miss, and I apologize. What's the lifespan on one of the batteries?
They're guaranteed for 6 years, and like I said before, they don't have, the whole thing doesn't have to be replaced. You can replace part of them, but we're kind of betting on technology that 6 years from now, because the batteries are evolving so rapidly, that they're going to be more efficient and they're going to be a lot cheaper. We're pretty certain of that. Right now, to replace the battery, it's about $75,000 a bus, but we don't think we're going to need to do that.
Wow. Okay. All right. So the burning question is, who's getting the toilet paper?
Well, I don't know who asked all the questions. I think the question on what's the longest distance that a battery operated vehicle has traveled was a pretty good question.
Okay, I'll have to go back. Ooh, I'll have to go back. Which route question was it?
About the longest distance traveled by a battery operated vehicle.
That would be the one and only Jeff Arthur.
Or I can give it to my favorite employee, Jason Brown. Either one.
Oh yeah. Doug Randolph says it was an inside job, so that's cheating, Jeff. There will be no cheating. Whatever. Okay. If you have any additional questions, or you think of anything that you want to ask that you did not get a chance to ask now, please go to the auxillary.uga.edu website, click on the auxiliary connections, and select the my brain just spazzed out. Select the feedback link. It's been a long day. This has been there's been a lot of sessions today so far. So thank you for bearing with us. Thank you, Don, for sharing with us today. And we look forward to seeing everybody soon. Stay safe.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.